I'm Soldier Joe Mitchell. I was with the United States Marine Corps for 6 years. Well, most of the family were in the Army, and I didn't want to be in the Army, so I wanted to do something different. The draft was coming up during them days, and so me and my friend named Steve Turner from St. Princeville, he says, let's join the Marine Corps in a buddy system, and we did. I was a crew chief and machine gunner aboard a Ch46 helicopter. And what we did in Vietnam, we did like the medivacs. We went and brought press troops in, and we went and picked up the wounded and the dead the next day or whenever. And we just kept that back and forth for the 2 full tours I had in Vietnam. But mostly I was a helicopter mechanic and a crew chief and a machine gunner. Well, I was an old country boy. I was raised out on a farm, and I was already in shape. Boot camp was a blast for me. It didn't hardly been no problem. But the Yankees up north who never worked for in their life, they like to die in boot camp. Me and my buddy Steve, we blew through it. It was tough. You had to run 9 miles a day, and the only problem I had in boot camp is the food. I didn't like fat food back then and cooked onions, and they made you eat everything back then. Well, I started off and went to Memphis, Tennessee to jet school. I was taught to be a mechanic, called a mechanic on jet engines. Then from there, I went to Vietnam. Then I came back from Vietnam. I was a recruiting sergeant in Cincinnati, Ohio. Then they sent me back to Vietnam again to do the thing. Then that's about it. I went to 14 mechanical schools while I was in the Marine Corps. Really great thing. Well, I realized that the military, when I got on that plane for the first time in my life, leaving Baton Rouge, and I look back at my mom and my sisters, realizing I may never see them again, that was the most emotional takeoff I ever had in my life. That's tough. I was raised Pentecostal. And my grandmother and my mama and my sisters, they just kept praying for me, and thank God I come back home. Maybe not in one piece, but I came home. But a lot of people, young kids, young boys especially, they always say, Mr. Joe, how many people did you kill? Well, my answer was, I was a machine gunner on a helicopter. I mowed a bunch down. How many I killed? I did not go down there and see how many. I didn't take a body count. Wasn't interested in that, but I would assume when you burn the barrels off of M60 machine gun, you're going to fire a lot of rounds. Then after that, we changed over to a 50 caliber machine gun, bigger gun where the barrels wouldn't melt off. But other than that, with Vietnam, we hauled in Bob Hope USO shores. Bob Hope was over there. A lot of the stores you probably don't know. Anne Margaret, back in the day, they all came put on shows for us back then. So they had some real good things. One of the funniest things, I was stationed aboard a ship called USS Tripoli, and they had movies like outdoor theaters, but they had Clint Eastwood in the movie called The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. I've probably seen it 30 times. So I didn't want to see it no more. No, what happened with, I was a lucky fella. When I came back, started off with adult parole, working out of Angola. Most veterans, when they come back, they work in law enforcement or something like that. But long story short, I had a phone call to go to Alpha Corporation, and I got in there, and I passed 5 first-class tests. You could either take the 3rd or the 2nd or the 1st. But because my military school and the 14 mechanical schools I told you, I passed every one of them first-class tests. I went to the top of the craft and got top pay, and I retired from Ethel. We go to reunion, Marine Corps reunion, so the last one I went to was in 1998. And I have not been in it since, because when I left my buddies, we was 18, 19, 20 years old. We all had our hair. None of us had big pot bellies. And when I saw them again after all those years, remember I got in 71, so 1998, the next time I seen them, they was bald head, fat. I was shocked, because I've seen them how they were in their youth. When I seen them how they were now, my heart broke, because we went through so much, and to see how we changed over the years, and I've been burying them left and right. They've been dropping like flies now. We next. Yes. But in combat, it's tough to have a close friend, because if he gets killed, you got to live with that forever. And my friend Steve Turner, the one I told you I joined the Marine Corps with, we just buried him last year. That just tough. Back in the Vietnam days, there was no cell phones, there was no computers, there was none of that. You had the American Red Cross. They hook up this satellite deal, and they get a hold of your mama. You like once every 6 months you get to talk, and every time you got through with your sentence, it says, "I love you, mama." Over. Because they had some guy controlling who. It's one-way conversations. And that was very instant, and that's how it was then. And letters, you can mail a letter home to your mama, and they might not get it for 3 or 4 months. Same coming to you. If you're out in the bush, the jungle, so to speak, where the mail's not delivered, you just have to wait. Sometime you get 15, 20 letters out of whack. So it wasn't like today. These boys call from combat. "Mom, I'm in combat right now. Can I call you back?" I found that most interesting. Yeah. When I came back, I used to help with the Marines and the rest of the Army and Navy guys. We would put on funerals, the honor guards for deceased veterans, Vietnam veterans, World War II veterans, and that's what we did. For years I did that. Now, us, the group that did that, we have died off so much. We can't do it no more. We've lost it. We used to do rifle squads and blow taps and everything. Those days is over. The younger guy got to take over now and do their part. I was sergeant, and I was on the E6 list for staff sergeant. I wasn't an officer. I didn't, because usually to be an officer, I could have got a combat promotion lieutenant, but a second lieutenant life is about 12 seconds in Vietnam, and so I turned that down. They can have it. Yeah, in the enlistment you have, come in as private, and you have PFC, then you have Lance Corporal, Sergeant E5 staff. So I was right in the middle of the system. If I'd have stayed in, matter of fact, when I went back to the reunion in '98, some of my buddies stayed in. They were E9 Master Gunnery Sergeants, Sergeant Majors. They had stripes down their arm. I was just wondering if I'd have stayed in. But I might have got killed, because a lot of them went back in combat in Iran, different places. Because when you're in the Marine Corps, you're the first to fight. Then we go take the place, and we let the Army go in and take care of it after we take it. We're the first in. But it's just the best thing that ever happened to me was joining the Marine Corps, because it gave you, personally, if I could make every young boy go in, and girl, go 2 years right out of high school or college, they must commit to 2 years in the military. It's the best thing would happen to them, because they get direction and they get an understanding what that's nothing free. You pay for it. Some soldier somewhere laid his life down so you can be free. Like I said, joining the Marine Corps was the very best thing I ever did in my life, because back in my day, the 60s, there's a lot of prejudice stuff going on. But when you went to Vietnam and had that black guy there, and his blood's red too, you got out, that crap got out of your head in a hurry, because we are all equal. And that prejudice stuff, my grandpa and all them thought, I blew that off. That was done. That was done. Man, you're going to save my life, and I'm going to save his, and we ain't got time for that. So you learn a lot of things, and the schools you go to in the military is to help you advance yourself in life. And join the military and see the world. Well, that's true. And join the military and get a free college education. That's true. If you live through your tour duty, if you can make it. Like I'm a 100% disabled veteran. And Louisiana gives me free license plates, free hunting and fishing licenses for being injured. I guess I can't complain. That's nice. We was at a place called Quang Tree in Vietnam. We got 5,000 Marines in bunkers around the base, securing the base. I had bunker detail that night. And all of a sudden, the colonel gets on a big microphone. He says, "Marines, I got something to tell you. You're going to live up to your name." By morning, every one of you will be dead. There's 87,000 North Vietnamese soldiers fixing to attack this base. I expect you to die like Marines. Phew, boy, we were scared to death. So here we all are. We got all our bunkers. We got every bit of ammunition and hand grenades and laws, rockets, bazookas, everything we got. And you got 5 rows of barbed wire out there about every 50 yards or so, and they got cans in them with rocks, and boy, all of a sudden the cans started rattling and everything. We scared to death. Long story short, we opened fire and we just shooting the hell out of everything. Well, guess what? B-52s come over and they arc light. They dropping 250-pound bombs and they just killing everything. Well, guess what? There was water buffaloes like cows in Vietnam. We went through the thing. We done killed all the civilians' cows, and we all come out fine. None of them got killed, and the B-52s killed the enemy. They bombed them, killed them. But that was a fear, knowing that this is it. You look at your buddy Steve. This is it, bud. You know. Yeah, I'm telling you, you gotta die like a Marine. That's sometimes a tough thing to do. And the colonel telling us that happened more than once. You know, some lieutenant come out there, he West Point or an Indianapolis graduate, he gun-ho, and he's wanting to tell you, Marines, we're gonna die together today. I tell my buddy Steve, this guy's nuts. We hear this all the time, you know. We don't hear this no more, you know. And we live in these bunkers, sand bunkers in Vietnam, and it was laying there in the 10th of 68. That's the worst time in Vietnam. I don't know if you ever heard that before. That's when all the enemy in Vietnam attacked us, coming after us. Well, we laid in these bunkers, and the round, every fifth round's a tracer round. I mean, so you can see where that round is. And they were firing so many rounds, they burnt the top of my tent off with rounds, and we had to roll off into a bunker and get our rifles and defend where we at. I mean, they're trying to kill us. They wasn't playing around, you know. So, of course, you tell your buddy, says, man, what in the world we joined the Marine Corps for? We should have joined the Army. It'd been a lot easier. But anyway, just thought I'd share that with you. But again, you couldn't ask for a closer bunch of buddies in your life. You are really close when you have someone that's got your back and he's willing to die for you, and you him. You can't get no closer than that. And that's what we have as Marines. We'll always be a Marine. I came home 49 years ago. That was 49 years ago. February 18, 1971, I'm in Vietnam in combat. February 18, 1971, same day, I'm on the streets of Baton Rouge as a civilian, and you're supposed to be normal. It's sort of hard to be normal, but that's what we deal with PTSD and all these things, you know. And you look at your pictures, and we have a website for us Marines in Vietnam, and you look at your old friends, and you keep in contact with them. They're getting old like you are. You look in the mirror, you shake your heads, and you look at him. To God, you ask your wife, said, "Do I look that bad?" You know. Whenever a man's in the military and he goes into combat, he has ribbons and medals hanging on his chest, and they only really mean something to the veteran because most civilians don't know what it is. But I have the Vietnam Cross of Gallantry. I have 3 Air Medals. I have 3 presidential unit citations from the president of 3 different presidents of the United States. I have 3 Navy unit citations. I have National Defense Medal. I got a bunch of, you know, look at the other veterans say, you've been through something, boy. When you see the Vietnam Medal, you got 5 stars on it. I mean, you've been there a while. So, and when we go and we see other veterans, we can look at their medals and we can tell them if they're stateside veterans or they're combat veterans. You can tell immediately. But these guys, especially the Purple Heart, if you see the Purple Heart on their chest, you know they've been through something. And a lot of them come back 2 and 3 Purple Hearts, you know. When I was hurting, I went to the hospital in Cam Bay in South Vietnam. It was like being in America. I was stunned. And after I seen them guys with their legs blowed off and arms blowed off and half their eyes blowed out and everything, I felt guilty being there. you know, because I was in good shape compared to them. So I come back home and I was thanking God for letting me be good, you know. Some of them boys not right yet. There will be.